Welcome to It's Jaw Time. Today we have the wonderful Sharon, and we're going to be talking about dating. So, Sharon, before we get started, why don't you introduce yourself to us and what are you drinking today?
I literally just like poured myself a drink because I knew I was gonna do this with you. But it's blueberry lemonade with orange juice. It's like a weird drink choice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking. But my name is Sharon. Hi. I don't know, what should I say about myself? This is so like
Um,
I'm like, should I go with where I went to school, like how we met? What do you
yes, and what you're
Okay.
doing, where you're living.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Sharon. I'm from Taiwan originally, but I moved to Bloomington, Indiana for school like 4 or 5 years ago. I just graduated with a public relations and marketing degree. Me and Amy met through our internship in California like 2 summers ago, actually.
Yep.
Time has just like the past year has been weird, but we met 2 summers ago through our internship, and we were sitting next to each other, but we immediately hit it off by talking about dating. Like that literally was the topic. That was the topic that kind of brought us together because I was listening to, I think it was Call Her Daddy, if I'm wrong. I'm not really sure.
yes,
I think
I
that was
Yes, I remember our first conversation because I saw the dress you were wearing, and you had this like H&M polka dot one, and I had the same one but just in plain brown. So I was like, oh my god, like should I tell her that I know where she got her dress from, or be like, hey, I love your dress? And I was like, hey, did you get that dress from H&M? She's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, okay, finally got that off my chest. And then I think you talked about like, oh hey, do you listen to like Call Her Daddy? And I was like, oh yeah, I listened to it like a few times. And then I think we progressed from like or our like real like deep conversation started with like your
right,
Tinder dating stories, and we
right.
were like both on Tinder at the time. So
Yeah,
that's kind
because
of
I
like
was obsessed with the farmer boy. I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like I think
Yeah.
this like topic was like definitely meant for us because we've had like kind of like a roller coaster of experiences within dating. Like I started like online dating back in 2017, which
Mhm.
feels like literally, I mean, I feel like this year does not count for me because I
Right.
just didn't do anything. So it's like 2.5 ish years. But yeah. So
Yeah.
let's dive in. First, how has the experience been with dating? And if you were to describe it in 3 words, what would be those 3 words?
Um, so my experience has been very interesting. I was in a really long relationship. Like, when I moved here for college, I immediately got into a relationship that lasted for almost 3 years. So, like, it was like I was a relationship person. And then after dating for so long, I didn't really know like how I could get back out there again. And like
Mm-hmm.
Tinder was obviously one of the things that people use a lot. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll like use Tinder. And so I was on Tinder right after we broke up and been on it for like 2 more years, like kind of like on and off. Like every time I'll like download Tinder and then after a little bit I'll delete it. Everyone has a love-hate relationship with their
Yes.
Tinder.
Yes.
But I've like officially deleted it and like sworn off it maybe this like October, like after like around Halloween, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
funny enough, like right after Halloween, like in the beginning of November, I met this guy that I've been like kind of dating right now. So my dating experience has been like a roller coaster ride, but if I could describe it in 3 words, um I would say a lot of pain, but also a lot of funny stories. Like pain, funny stories, and I would say friendship, just because not only have I been able to like make some of the guys that didn't end up like working out my
Mm-hmm.
friends, like I feel like because of my Tinder stories and my dating stories, I've gotten a lot closer with like friends like you or like a lot of my friends just around me because they would be like, oh my god, tell me all the like exciting things that you're going through, and I'd be like telling people stories. And everyone's just like so invested in my love life that I hated the pain, yes, but I enjoyed the funny stories, and I love how it brought me closer to a lot of my friends. So I feel like these three would be how I summarize my love life, I
You
guess.
know, if I were to describe my dating experience, I think I would probably use those same words because,
Right?
like, just like you, it has been like a complete roller coaster of emotions. And like, even when you do like get ghosted, I mean, it definitely hurts, you know, even if you
Mm-hmm.
weren't interested in that person. And I've made friends that I probably never would have,
Right.
like, ever.
Yeah.
Why do you think they do? Do you think it's just because of poor communication? Do you think it's because they're afraid to tell that person, or like they don't know how to deal with that confrontation? Or do you think it's like something hidden, you know, under their feelings that they don't really want to like put out?
Well, like I was saying that I feel like there's a difference between like a mutual falling out and like ghosting. Like for me, a mutual falling out would be like sometimes like because we're talking to so many people
Mm-hmm.
right off the bat, we're like, okay, there's no like chemistry, or we have nothing in like
Right.
common, or like there's no connection. So we just talk to each other less and less, and like one day neither of us like really put in effort to continue. But I
Right.
feel like ghosting would be like if someone's like clearly trying. First of all, someone's clearly trying, and then the other person's just kind of like using no response as a response. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that would be like kind of annoying, and I would consider that ghosting. And then the second one, which is the worst of all, is that you've been talking continuously, like maybe flirting a little, you feel like it's going somewhere, and then suddenly this person just dies in your life. And
Dude.
then literally falls off the face of the earth. Like, to me, that's the epiphany of ghosting, is that they were fine in your life, and then the next morning you wake up and they just died. Like, they
Yeah.
not like physically, but like they just died in your storyline. Like, you're like, wait, where did you go? Like, you were texting me yesterday, but then I can't reach you today. So like,
And
are
now
you
you're just like
okay?
completely gone.
Should I call
Yeah.
you an
Yeah.
ambulance? Like, yeah, I feel like that would be how I would define it, but I don't know why people do it. Like I said, like I feel like at some point in your life, everyone's done it.
Yep.
Personally, I'm terrible at speaking my mind in a way where I'm really bad at drawing my own boundaries. Like
Right. Me
it's very
too.
hard for right. It's very hard for me to say no. It's very hard for me to be like, I don't really want to do that. So like at times if I feel like this person is being a little pushy, I would be like, you know what, like I'm just gonna not respond. But I would have never ghosted someone if we've been like very consistent
Yep.
and I just disappear. I've never done that. I have done the other one where like if the other person is like really trying hard and I just like I don't feel anything and I feel bad telling them that, like maybe I'm not as interested, I
Right.
would just kind of like not respond. So I have
Yes.
done that. Um,
So, okay, let's go back because I feel like an entire episode could just be for like ghosting. But
right.
so for that hard ghosting, how was that experience and what did you do? Like, did you like notice, like, okay, this guy like completely dropped off the face of the planet? What do I do? Do I text him and be like, hey, are you okay? Or like, hey, if you don't want to talk to me, like that's totally cool. Or like, how did you approach that situation, and what advice would you give to someone if they're like, you know, this guy just like ghosted me, or this person just ghosted me and I
Right.
want to know why? Like, just need that some type of closure to be like, okay, like we're not on the same page, like that's totally cool. Shit hurts, but at least I can move on, so I'm not like thinking about those thoughts that we talked about earlier, you know?
Right. I feel like I give everyone different advice based on like whatever stage they are at, but the general rule that I apply to both myself and like everyone that I tell is that I will give one person 3 tries.
Mm.
So, for example, like we were just talking yesterday, and then I texted you this morning and was like, "Hey, good morning." I don't see a response the whole day. I'll like wait it out a little, like because like sometimes people just have busy days, and
Yep.
like maybe like by the night I feel like something's wrong, I might like send another one with like, how's your day been? Like, is
Yep.
everything okay? No response. That's strike 2. So I will leave that last one and maybe time it out a little better, like a week later or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like for me, I will only allow myself to do 3 tries, and, like, 3 tries and you still, like, don't wanna talk to me, that's it. Like, if you wanna come back and, like, explain yourself or, like, patch things up, sure, like, that's for the future, but
Right.
I would never like, I just 'cause it like you said, like, it sucks, and I feel like if you try multiple times and that person is giving you the same answer,
Mhm.
like, the not responding is an answer, like, clearly they don't wanna speak to you.
Yep.
So the the more the more chances you give to that person, you're just allowing yourself to be, kinda embarrassed and, like, hurt, and, like, you're also it's not about a power dynamic, but also, like, to hear to, like, feel okay, you wanna know that you weren't completely acting like a dumbass, I feel
Yep.
like in a relationship, people always get really upset if they have been, like, cheated on, lied to because they feel dumb, and
Yeah.
so I think the same goes with ghosting. Like, if you've tried 3 times and that person is showing very clearly that they don't wanna talk to you, then I would just say, like, let it go. Like, like and my experience is generally people who ghost you always come back.
Yeah.
It just I don't know what it is. They just one day they'll be walking on the street and they're like, "Huh, I wonder that girl that I ghosted 2 years ago. I wonder how she's doing." And
Dude.
they'll like come back. I feel like people who ghost, like there's so many reasons. Sometimes they're really just there's no reason. Like they're just shitty human beings that we're never taught how to communicate properly.
Yep.
And like if you know me very well, and like I am an overthinker. I like go crazy if I don't know the why.
Me
But
too.
I just kind of stopped because like there has been times where like sometimes they ghosted me, and like at that time it was like really hard, but like when they finally eventually come around, I've kind of let it go already. So if I feel like it, I'll ask and I'll be like, "Hey, so like what happened?" And honestly, most of the time they don't have a good reason. They're just like, "Oh, like I don't know. I just kind of stopped." And you were like that leaves me, and also like a lot of times they come back not necessarily looking to really communicate with you again. I
Mhm.
get random snaps from like 1 or 2 guys that like ghosted me a while back, and like it doesn't mean anything. Like they're not trying to build anything, and I feel like
Right.
very easily when you see that like snap or message or whatever, if you still have feelings, that lights up something in your heart where you're like, "Oh my gosh, like,
Oh, they're
maybe
thinking about me.
right, maybe he or she was spending the last 9 months thinking about me, and, like, he's finally moved like, built courage and, like, decided to commit and marry me." No, no. I shit you not, it probably was because he or she was going through their phones, and they were like, "Oh, fuck, I haven't texted this person." Or it was just a mass snap, like,
Yeah.
most of the time, one of those. Like, it's never really like, I feel like if they wanted to, like, try, it would have been a much better first message to, like,
Yeah.
reaching out and saying, like, "Hey, like, I know what I did to you was not right, but I would like things to be different." That I feel like is acceptable, but if they're just, like, sending you a, "Hi, what's up?" No. No.
Yeah, and I think like the hardest part dealing with that is the fact that like sometimes you like kind of build these people up in your head like a little too much. Like, oh, this person's
Right.
so great, because they like, I don't know, they said good morning to me or whatever. And then when they ghost you and then they come back, you just like, you forget about all of the shit that they made you feel when you felt like crap. And you just think about
Right.
like, kind of quote unquote, like the good things that they did.
Right.
And then it's like, it gets you back to that like stage one where like they're super nice, they're super interested, and then you just forget. And that happens to me so many times. I'm like, oh my god, like he totally was like totally like thinking about me, dwelling on like the perfect message to send me or whatever.
Right.
And then I get into that zone to where I'm like, Amy, like he fucking ghosted you, like did you not remember, like do you not remember that? But I just, it's just so hard because, like you said, even when you ask a guy like straight up, you know, what
Right.
was,
And you have,
what was
like,
the issue? They honestly don't have an answer, and I'm like,
right.
why can't you just be an adult and be like, hey, we weren't on the same page. Hey, I wasn't interested. or hey, you said something that kind of ticked me off and I was like, hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, why is that so difficult? Especially because it's like people ghost not in person. Like, they don't tell you in person, like, hey, Sharon, I don't want to talk to you anymore and I want to see other people, whatever. They just go straight to their fucking phone and be like, yeah, I'm not going to text this person again. You know? So it's like, it's not, it is, okay, it is hard sometimes, but like, how hard is it to write a sentence like, hey, I'm not interested anymore. Hope you find what you're looking for. 2 sentences. Like, come on.
I think it's just because, like, I think no one teaches us how to say that, and no one teaches us how to, like, take that, you know? Because, like, I have heard people say that they're afraid to tell people that because they don't know how the other person would take it. Like, I've had a guy who we went out, like, twice or so, and then I could tell that the way he was messaging me was a little different. So I was just like, hey, you know, like, if you're not interested anymore, you could just let me know and I wouldn't bug you every day. Like, I wouldn't be trying to text you funny stuff or like interesting things or sharing my day. If you're just gonna say like 2 words, you're gonna send me 2 word sentences or responses. And he was like, oh yeah, well, after the last date I just felt like we didn't vibe. And so I was like, okay, cool, like now I know, thank you. And I stopped texting him. But I feel like, and he's still on my Snap and he looks at my stories or something like that. Like, we never tried communicating again, but I feel like it could have gone very wrong if I was just like, how dare you, like, tell me that you don't, like, want to date me or, like, we didn't vibe. Like, maybe that's some people's, like, fear that the other person wouldn't take it the right way. And I think, again, that's, like, because no one's taught how to, like, communicate and then also take that properly. Like, taking no is, like, such a thing that people don't learn how to do. Like, that's why a lot of guys get really upset if girls turn them down on dates or, like, you know, there's just communication is such an important thing and I wish people, like, taught it better. But you brought something up that was really interesting and it was like really liking someone's quality and holding on to that. And that's why when you're ghosted and they come back, you're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm in love again.
Yeah.
And normally I would, and you're my friend, you know this, like, I normally tell people, like, tell me 3 things right on top of your mind what you like about this person. Because, like, usually I've gotten shitty answers, man. Like, I've had friends who told me, like, oh, they remember the perfume that I wear. And I look at them and I'm like, you're 3 things. And the first thing you tell me is that they remember the brand of perfume that you wear. I would remember that if you told me that. Like, there's just, and it's not a bad thing. Like, again, like, these are 2 qualities. Everyone tells me, like, cute, small things that their, like, crush does. That's great. But I would ask them in the end, I'm like, well, you can only choose 3 qualities, and other qualities are so trivial. Like, there's nothing to build on, you know. All these things are things that friends could do for you, families could do for you, or just someone that cares about you a little more, like a little more like someone a little more caring could notice these things, you know. Like, it doesn't necessarily translate into a good relationship foundation, and I feel like that's why they only end up being crushes and you get ghosted because, like, you're so held on to the small things and then the small things only turn into big romantic paragraphs in your own head, but they're not real because, you know, like, and honestly, I'm sorry to, like, say it out loud, and I'm a preacher, but I have to do this to myself too. I'm like, okay, chill, like, you know, the kiss on the forehead doesn't mean he's wanting to marry you and wake up next to you every morning. It just maybe means that he used to do this. He's used to doing this to all the girls. Like, what other qualities does this person have that matches what you're looking for in a long-term partner? That's what makes a relationship. But, like, kisses on the forehead, remember your perfume, watching The Office with you.
I was just gonna bring that up. Oh my god! You know how dear. I feel like everyone knows how dear The Office, you know, is to me. So, like, in all of the, like, dating apps that I've had, I've always put something of The Office. Right. And so when I, like, start talking to a guy and he's, like, interested in The Office, or if he's, like, never watched him, he's, like, into, like, oh yeah, I'll totally definitely not watch it. I'm like, oh my god, like, he's, like, willing to watch The Office for me. Oh my god, like, literally, you know, after, like, you brought that up to me, I was like, how stupid was I? How stupid am I? Like, The Office, okay, it's a TV show and it, like, means so much to me, but that quality, like you said, is not going to progress into like something more. Even if we were to do like Netflix watch party, whatever, and we put on The Office, like I don't know if that other person's actually watching. Like, what if he's just doing that just to like do it, not because they want to, I don't know, like learn something more about me.
Right.
And
And
like
also,
that's like
like,
the
I feel like when,
hardest part.
right, no, sorry. Like, I was saying, like, when you do that, like, sometimes you're missing out. Like, what if your husband, like, let's say I went to the future and I saw your husband, and he actually hates The Office, but he sits down every single night and watches The Office with you.
Exactly.
Like, to me, like, that means so much more than a guy that sees that you like The Office and was like, oh, yeah, like, I don't hate it, so I'll watch it with you every once in a while. Like, I don't know, like, these are small things that, like, yes, it could mean, like, I would love for you to be with someone that would watch The Office with you or share the same amount of passion that you like, but also, like, it's not a necessity, you know,
It's
like,
not.
you could have a really good relationship even, like, honestly, like, I could see you being with someone that, like, actually hates The Office and, like, he makes fun of you for loving The Office so much, but he
Yeah.
secretly knows everything about The Office because he watches with you because you put it on every night. Like,
Yep.
if you told me that as a friend, I would be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so happy for you. Like, that's a great relationship. And so I think it's so easy for us to miss, like, why a relationship would work and like why it wouldn't. And like when we're so fascinated with the ones that ghosted us, like it's usually the small things that they
Yep.
did for us that in our head it just kind of became this, like, you know.
Nothing. So I made this like internal like thing to where if I'm talking to a guy and I like can't tell my girlfriends about him, I know it's a sign that I should not be talking to him at all. Because like, you know, when you're talking to your girlfriends, like you're like, oh, that guy is so, or this person is so great because of this, this, and this. But then you also can try to include like, oh, but he kind of like does this, and I don't know if like I'm down with that. And your friends kind
Right.
of give you like a little bit more objective answer
Right.
because you yourself have blinders on. Like you're only gonna see what you want to see, and you're not going to see like the outside perspective, but like your friends are like outside, right? So they're hearing information from you and they can kind of like, you know, logically like help you make a decision. So if I'm in a
Right.
state where like this guy's so great and I think he's so great and I think my friends will think he's like kind of cool too, then I'm like, yeah, definitely no. If I'm ready to tell my friends about him, like, oh, I'm talking to this guy, then I know that this guy's like, you know, someone that
Yeah.
I can like potentially go to like another level with. But if you're
I
not
think,
ready to tell your friends, it should be a sign like
yeah,
maybe
for
not.
sure. Like I feel like that's definitely true. Like if you're trying to tell someone about who you're dating and you're hesitant or you want to leave out certain parts, like I think that's like your subconscious telling you that, you know, you're also a little iffy about that. And
Mm-hmm.
like on top
Mm-hmm.
of that, I will say, I think I told you about this too, like um something that I did for myself that I found really helpful was that, like I said, I'm really bad at boundary setting, but I didn't know how important it was, especially with dating. Like I really sat down one night and like I kind of went through all the things that I'm looking for. Like I gave myself like maybe like 10 qualities that I look for in a guy, and that includes like um you know, physical appearance, personality, their worldviews, their personal values, their family values, and all
Mm-hmm.
of those things. And I like gave myself a list of 10, and I told all my
Mm-hmm.
friends that too. Like I told people what I was looking for, and like a part of my friend who believes in manifesting to the universe was like, "Oh, you're manifesting to the universe." Okay, I agree to that theory, but also like I feel like when I was doing that and telling my friends, like in a way, it was holding myself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if I brought a guy that didn't match a certain quality, and I was like telling them about this dude, like I trust my friends would be like, "Hey, like I don't think this person actually matches this quality that you're
Yeah.
looking for." And like
Yeah.
the reason I give yourself, I would say like give yourself 10 is that 10 qualities that, you know, like covers all of those really important things, but also like you're not trying to find someone perfect because perfection doesn't exist, right? But like when you give yourself 10 qualities, you're essentially trying to understand what matters to yourself
Mm-hmm.
most, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the most important thing in a relationship. Like a relationship is kind of both ways. So you can't just always be satisfying the other person or trying to find good things about the other person.
Right.
It's more important to sit down and like instead of being like, oh, does he or she like me? Like it's more important to be like, okay, do I like this person?
Yes.
And
Yes.
like what are things that I like about this person that it's just a bonus, like watching The Office or like remembering certain things about me. Those are bonuses. But like, what are some like fundamental qualities that probably wouldn't change as like time goes on, and like that's how you are able to be in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and like I would like highly recommend people like if you've had dating experiences like like you said, like even casual dates, like try to think about like what made you feel really good about certain people and you can turn those into like fundamental qualities. I would say like knowing your love languages, knowing your partner's love language, and kind of,
Yes.
be able to tell them what you need and like remind them if they're not giving that to you, and like communicating things are what makes relationships work.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree because if you don't really know yourself, and learning and knowing yourself is like a learning process. Like it's not like one day you're gonna know every
Right.
little thing about you. It's kind of like every day you discover like, hey, I actually don't like doing that because of this, and this, or I actually do love that. I love
Right.
that fruit because whatever.
Yeah.
But it's an everyday learning thing, and it's really important to know yourself because if you don't know yourself, you don't know what you're gonna want. You don't know like what you're really looking for. Not even just like dating, but like just from like life in general, like from friends, coworkers,
Right.
managers, supervisors, whatever. Like you won't really know what you need, what you want, and it's really important to be like, sit down with yourself and just write about what you want. Make sure you feel your emotions. Like make sure like if you're sad, be sad. If you're upset, be upset, but also be able to communicate that too. Like if your partner or your friend said something that you didn't really like, but be okay with yourself to tell them like, hey, I didn't like when you said that. Because you have to be really comfortable with showing your emotions, feeling them,
Mhm.
and really, really expressing them, which is like
Yeah.
really important. Even with dating too, like we had this conversation before too, where it's like when you start talking to someone or you start dating, you don't really show your true selves. So if like
Yeah.
someone said something that bothered you, you don't really say it. You just like swallow it and just you know you're like, oh, I'll just let it pass or I'll like let it go. But sometimes it really does gnaw on you. Like 2 or 3 days later, I'm like, why did I let that go? If it was
Right.
someone else, I probably wouldn't have. So it's like
I'm
really
the
have
queen of
to.
that.
Yeah.
Like and you know that, like I don't eat or drink water or go to the bathroom in front of the guys that I'm dating. Like I think I want to be the version of, I don't know, some doll maybe, like literally a robot. Um, and the guy that I'm dating right now can vouch for that. Like he's like, you don't need to eat, and I'm like, like what do you
No,
mean?
I'm like so not hungry.
Um, and like I would come home to my own apartment and like just order, I don't know, $40 of delivery. I'm like, I haven't eaten like 3 days. I'm so hungry. And it's so bad. I swear I do it subconsciously. Like I don't try to be like I just like when I'm around people, I naturally like tend to like want these things less. Like I don't really think about eating or drinking or like I don't know. Like I'm such a person that focuses all my energy on the other person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like in my head, like all my needs are like on the very bottom of the list, and I think that's why my body does that. Like I'm constantly trying to see what the other person is feeling like, if they're hungry, if they need anything. But like you said, that's not healthy, and like I've been realizing that I do that, and so I've been trying to express my like needs more. Like before I would be too embarrassed to say like, oh, like sometimes like guys that I date would be offering like, oh, do you want me to grab you a drink, or like, can I get you something? And I'd be like, no, 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 like, I don't need anything, because I'm so scared when people are nice to me. Like that's
Yep.
another fear I have. Like I want to be the one that's always giving,
Yep.
and I'm so scared of taking, but that's not how a relationship works. Like relationship is about, give and takes. And so it's also important that they feel like they're giving. And sometimes when I do that too much, like I end up like a mom, like I end up babying them, which for a lot of guys, that's not what they necessarily need, right? And
Yeah.
like you said, like talking to my friends helped because I would tell my friends that and they're like, it kind of sucks that you don't let your personality show with the guys that you're dating. Like I also get a lot dumber when I am around guys I like.
Yep.
Like I was really into the bartender guy, and he was like, "Oh, how was your day?" And I was like, "Oh my god, good." He was like, "Oh, what did you do?" I stuttered for 10 minutes, and I was like, "I took a nap." Right, and like I was just like in my head, I was like, Sharon, you're so embarrassing. Like you slept for 10 minutes, and all you could say was take a nap. Like you didn't go to school, you didn't work, you just took a nap. And like I swear, like they happen subconsciously, but I just wish I felt more comfortable doing that. And like that goes with practice. Like I will slowly push myself to try to say things that I need to say, that even though they feel extremely uncomfortable, I force myself to do it. And like it just, like, again, it goes with the pain because like I've done that and just kind of spoke my mind, and the results of doing that sucked, you know, like I like confessed my love to someone and they just ended up being like too overwhelmed or something. And then immediately after that, I'm like, I'm never fucking doing this again. Like I'm
Yep.
going back to not ever showing my emotions.
Yeah.
And then you date another few guys and then you're like, okay, that's really unhealthy. And so I don't know, like I feel like the cycle just kind of goes on, and then you'll meet people who are right for you. Like,
Yep. So before we wrap up, what do you think are some of the key takeaways from our conversation on dating?
wow, I feel like I just summed it up. I like did it not intentionally. Um, so again, like I feel like just knowing yourself, like that's such an important thing. Like before dating, sit down, you know, learn your love languages, know what you want, know what you're looking for. And it's okay if you're not ready for dating yet, you know, like if you just want to meet people, I think it's okay to tell people that, you know, like say on a Tinder profile, just be like, hey, I'm not looking to date. I just want to meet different people and put myself out there and see what, you know, people are like, because I haven't experienced that or something like that. Like, I don't know, like knowing yourself and knowing what you want. And then after you know yourself, being able to express that properly to
Yep.
people, and not just expressing it. Like if you get to the point where you're telling people what you want, like also be good at taking it, you know, like it goes both ways. Like you can't just demand what you want to people, and when people tell you what they want, you could just go fuck you, like I'm not gonna do that. That's not how communication works, guys.
Slap
Like
in the face.
right, no, like yeah, that's not how communication works, right? Like if you are able to know what you want and you are expressing it, then also be a good listener and let people tell you what they need and try to do that for other people too. And then the last part is just, you know, again, like I would strongly recommend people to over communicate, because I feel like from my own personal experience, like whenever I over like tell people all my insecurities, and even though like my brain goes like crazy and I'm an overthinker, like when I lay out all the things that I've been afraid or I've been thinking, people are like, "Oh my gosh, like that was what I was thinking too." Like, you know, and like it's just such a big relief. Like sometimes there's no solution. It's just like knowing that you're not crazy and knowing that your insecurities someone else understands or even shares it. So again, like over communicate, because people are busy. There's a lot of information. So just, you know, be able to know yourself, express that, and then tell people that. And if you feel like you're getting ghosted 3 times, like over communicate up to 3 times, and that's it, because that's a different scenario. Like if you're telling them how you feel, you're expressing your feelings, and they still don't respond, then the last message, just leave it as your own closure. Like I usually like hit them up asking what they need, tell them what I need. I'm like, hey, like, you know, like I feel like you haven't been telling me stuff, like do you still want to be talking? Because if not, then I would rather know. And if they still don't do anything, then the last message I would send would be, you know, like, hey, like I'm really sorry it has to end like this, but I really appreciate all the things that we've been through, like, and just kind of like wrap it up. So 3 times if you're being ghosted, with the over communicating part. That would be my takeaway for the dating things.
Yes. And another thing with like communication is a two-way street. So
Yes.
and so are relationships. it's kind of like give and take, but more not necessarily give and take, but it's all about reciprocation. Like, you
Right.
know, especially with like love languages and the qualities. Like if you're looking for XYZ and the person you're dating or in a relationship is giving you ABC, then it's just not going to be a good match, especially in the long haul. It goes hand in hand with like knowing yourself, know
Yeah.
what you want, know what you're getting into, because dating is fucking tough. Like the three words: funny stories, pain, and friendships. I think that
Yeah.
was the last one, right? Pain is fucking real. That shit fucking hurts. And it fucks up your self confidence and your self esteem. And you have to kind of work backwards to like build yourself up again, to put yourself out there, because sometimes you got to be vulnerable. And if you can't be vulnerable with
Mhm.
yourself, you can't do it with other people.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, that's so true.
Yeah. And don't ghost. Like, honestly, learn how to communicate, because
Yes.
communication is key. Have those tough conversations with yourself, with your friends, and with a person that you're not interested anymore, because we're all adults here, and we can have tough conversations in school and work, but why can't we have it with relationships?
Yes. And I feel like maybe a pro tip, like if you feel like you are kind of bad at like communication, ask your friends. Like
Yep.
I would ask my friends like, what are some qualities that you like about me and you hate about me? And like those questions, like if you're putting yourself out there, like they might say some shitty things that you do that you're like, oh fuck, like I didn't know I do that. Like
Yeah.
thank you. I don't know if we're friends anymore, but like but that's the thing. Like you're putting yourself out there and you're hearing hard answers and you're also getting to reevaluate yourself, right? You know, you get to hear good things about you that you do and then things that you need to improve on.
Mm-hmm.
So ask people that are close to you about these things or like I don't know, just try to challenge yourself with like real questions instead of just going on about your day, thinking about, you know, what's for dinner or like what's on my to-do list. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
like take an hour before bed every night and be like, think of some real questions, I guess, like I would say, like would really help you understand yourself and communicate. Because then the next time someone is not giving you something that you need or you know, it's not what you're looking for, you're more likely to be able to say those things to that person
Yep.
because you've had conversations with other people that were not as comfortable. So,
Yep.